Okay, hello everybody. Today we will be looking like on at stuff that is like bit different from Python. It would be like Git, Bash, and GitHub. So I think we should start now. So hand over to you, Aditya.
Yeah, hello everybody. So I will be first showing you the bash commands, the most basic one which you will be needing. So the first will start with man. So man is short for manual and it like gives you the entire description of any command. So if anytime like you're confused how to use a command, just type man and the name of that command. And like uh, for this I typed ls, which list directory contents, and this will show you the entire information about that, how to use that and other things. Okay, so now the second command we'll use is to make a folder, make a directory. So for that it is make directory, and after that you just have to type the name of the folder. So in example, let's say folder 1. So now we have a folder 1 created. Now we'll use a command called change directory. So currently we are in the home directory. Now I want to go inside folder 1. So to go inside folder 1, I'll do change directory cd folder 1. Now I'm inside folder 1. So to see like in which current directory you are, there's a command called pwd, which stands for print working directory. So if I do print working directory, it is showing me the complete path that inside home Aditya folder 1. Okay. Uh, now I'll show you the list ls command, which shows whatever the contents are inside your directory. So currently I created an empty folder, so there is nothing inside that. But now let's say if I create a file in that, so we'll be using the touch command. So it is a very simple command. It just creates an empty file with a name which you give it. So for example, I'll create a file.txt. Now if I do ls again, I have this file.txt inside folder 1. Okay. uh, Now yeah, so with cd you can also do one more thing. So let's say I create another folder called folder 2 inside folder 1. Now I go inside folder 2. So I'm currently inside folder 2, which is in folder 1. Now let's say I have to go back. So to go back, you do cd and double dot. So I've come back in folder 1. Okay. Uh, okay. Now there's a command called echo. Echo is generally used to print text to the terminal, or you can also use it to uh, print some text inside a file. So for example, I want to create a file with text called bash is fun. So I'll do echo uh, and this string will come inside inverted commas, bash is fun, and I'll just output it to a file. So let's say the file name is bash.txt. Now if I do ls, I have this file bash.txt. Now let's say you have a file and you want to view that file, like what is inside that file. So you can use the command called cat. So the cat reads the file sequentially and it just outputs it to the terminal. So cat bash.txt, and yes, we have bash is fun. Another one simple trick is that many times you will have a huge name for a folder or file. So instead of like typing the entire thing, what you can do is, for example, we in this current folder 1, we have this folder 2. So let's say I have to go inside folder 2. So I'll just type fo and then press tab, and that will complete the string if there is no other string starting with fo. So that comes very handy when you are dealing with very large file names. Okay. Now, yeah, now we have move and remove. So let's say currently we have file.txt.
Aditya,
Yeah.
can you repeat the ls command and it detail like people are asking in the chat?
Okay. Like should I just the ls command or also about hidden files and everything?
Just tell them about like hidden files also.
Okay. Okay. So the hidden files one I will tell you in later on when we are dealing with Git. Like it is a very important thing there. Currently, just will deal with simple ls, so it will just show you the non-hidden files. So when you just type ls, it will show you all the files in the current folder. So if you type ls minus a, so this minus a is a flag which stands for almost all. So it will show you also the hidden files. In our case, we don't have hidden file here. I'll show you that in the git part. Is it okay now, Shivam?
Let me see. You can like raise your hand and ask without.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll wait for 2 minutes. If anybody has
Yeah.
doubt, like just unmute yourself and ask.
Can you explain the echo function again?
Okay. So the echo function is generally used if you want to like print some text to a terminal or output some text, like out to add some text to a file. Like in this case, I used it. Like I use it generally to create a file and have a string added to that. So this thing which you are seeing here, it is like a direction. So when you are adding this string to a file, so you will have to give it in this direction, like inside bash.txt. Okay.
Okay, and what is the CD space dot dot? What is the dot
Yeah,
dot?
the dot dot is stands for the previous, like if I am in folder one, like if you are in any folder, if you do cd dot dot, it will take you just a step back, like just outside that folder.
Oh,
This is a nice question. I'll show you something here. Let's say I am in folder 2. Now instead of folder 1, I want to go outside folder 1 also. Like I want to go back here in the home, not just one step back. I want to go two step backs. So I'll do cd dot dot, then I will do a slash. So this is used to separate like folders. Like you're seeing this here also. And if I
Uh,
do dot dot again,
Aditya,
yeah.
like people are asking you to go a bit slow. You are like kind of fast.
Okay. So like if I do dot dot, then I will just go a step back. Now if I add slash, which is used to separate folders, like separate paths, and if I add another double dot dot, I'll go two step backs. If I do it again, I'll go three step backs, and so on. So I'll just go two step backs. So you see, I went from directly to the home folder. Like I'm currently in the home path, and now I can go again folder 1. I think this is understood. This
yes,
double.
yes, clear. And one more thing,
Yeah.
when you wrote touch file txt,
Yeah.
so what does that mean? What are you trying to do there?
Touch is just to create an empty file with some name. So in your Windows, if you're using, what you do, you right click, you click new, and you create an empty file, and then you give it a name. So that entire process you can do with the touch command. Just to touch and give any name, like, and any extension also. For example, utils.py or myfile.txt. So it will just create an empty file, like just a empty file with this name.
Okay, okay, got it.
Got it? Okay. Anything else? Oh, okay. So I'll,
Aditya, are you
yeah.
able to like see the chat window?
I'm currently like sharing, so I'm not seeing the chat window.
Oh, okay, take it, take it.
Let's see. Man ls command is not working. It is working. Okay, I'll discuss it like this problems. I will discuss it in the end. So what is this PWD? So PWD was print working directory. So like whenever you are in some folder and you want to see the complete path, like in which folder you are. So if you just do PWD, so it will show you the complete path. Like in this case, home Aditya folder 1. And if I go in folder 2 and then do PWD, okay, sorry, order. Yeah. So folder 1, folder 2. And okay. If anyone has any other doubt, please speak in the chat. It's clear. Okay. So there are two more commands which I'll tell you. It is called tail. So tail is also like kind of like cat, but it is used if you have a very large file, like if you have a file.txt and you have written a lot of text in there, and let's say you just want to see the end text. Let's say you want to see just the last 100 lines. So what you will use a tail command. So tail, and then you will do the number of lines you want to see. So let's say I want to see 10 lines. So you will give tail, and this is a flag. So n means the number of lines you want to see. And then I will just do tail. I want to see last 10 lines and the name of the file in which I want to see. Okay, I'm in wrong folder. Yeah. So that was an empty file. Let's take another one. Yeah, bash.txt. Yeah, so there was only one line, so it just printed that one line. But if I had 100 lines, it will give me the last 10 lines. So when you're dealing with very large file, it is a very handy command. Like when you're training or anything, then you have to see the last iterations, like how is the loss and everything. So this is a very useful command there. And I think most of the important commands are done. Shivam, are there any other commands?
No,
Okay,
like you can move to like Git and GitHub.
okay, okay. So yeah, in Git also you will see these commands being used. So I have created an empty folder beforehand, git bash. Yeah. So it is currently empty. Now I'll create a folder called git tutorial. Sorry, I have to first create it. So make directory mkdir. So with that, I am creating a folder called git tutorial, and I am now going into that. Okay. Now I have to show you that hidden file part. So if I go into this folder and I have show hidden files on, so but there are no hidden files now, like it is currently fully empty. Now if I do git init, what this command does is that this initializes this directory as a git repository. So okay, so first we have to give you an intro about git. So let's start with git. So I think many of you have heard about GitHub, and like many of you are confused that git and GitHub may be same thing. So we'll discuss about that. So Git is a version control system. So what is a version control system? So let's say you are writing some code. Okay, let's say you're writing a code for factorials. So there are many algorithms which you can use to write that factorial code with different efficiencies. So let's say you wrote some code, then you found that this is not working and you want to change it. So you like made your changes, saved your file. Again, you checked it and again it is not working. Then again, you made your changes and saved that file. After like 4 to 5 such steps, you realize that the first one was working and you want to somehow go to that, but you can't go now because you have already altered that file. So an inefficient way to do this would be like each time you will create, like you will save your code as a new file. So like first time factorial1.cpp, then you made some changes and you save it into that factorial2.cpp. Again you made changes and save it into factorial3.cpp. That is a very inefficient way to do that. An efficient way is to use git. Git is mainly used to track the changes in your code in any set of files, and it was developed like by a famous person, Linus Torvalds, which who also developed the Linux kernel. And it was developed so that multiple people can collaborate on a source code. Like after you start using it, you will find that it is very helpful in that case. So the Git is the main tool which like manages all your code, tracks it and everything. GitHub is just a server. It like hosts your Git repository on a remote server. Like it uses the git tool, but GitHub is different than git. like like GitHub, there's also called bitbucket, which also uses git. So let's start with git. So currently it was a uh, empty folder, right? Now, and this is just a simple directory, but now I want to make it a Git repository. So what I'll do is I will type git init and just see what it does after git init. You see there's a folder here, .git. This folder stores the entire information about this repository called git tutorial. Like it will store about the branches, the commits you make, any kinds of changes which are there. Like you see all of these objects folder and everything. We won't go into that detail, but for your information, like it just stores all the information and what are the changes you're doing to that. Okay. Now we come to the ls command. So if you just do ls, I don't get anything, like it's showing it's empty. But if I do ls minus a, which I told you is for also showing the hidden files, you see that we are getting the .git folder. So that is where that minus a comes. Okay, so let's add some uh, content to this empty folder. So let's add a file.txt. So how, like we will repeat the same process which we did earlier so that you can revise that. So we'll use a touch command to create an empty file. It came here. Now we will add some text to that. So it is fun. I'll add it to that. Okay, and now we'll just check it. So we'll use the cat command for output. So we have the text in that. Now we will do a git status. So git status command gives the status of a repo, like this directly, like what are the changes in that. So if we do a git status, you see that there are some things which I have to skip, but I'll just give you a brief description. It shows you that you are on a branch. We will not go into branches, but like in the default case, the branch is called master. So it is showing that we are on branch master. Then currently, like we don't have any commits. We'll read about commits later on. And it shows us, this is the main part, untracked files. And it's showing in red that there's a file called file.txt. So what is this untracked part? So if like you just add some part content to your directory, and if you don't add it to the staging area. So let's just go to this part. Yeah. So currently we have a folder which we just create in your Unix. Like I created a git tut folder, but any content which you add into that, like any file or code, Git will know that there's some additional files there, but it won't track them until you add those files in an area called the staging area, which is this part. And only after you add those content into the staging area, you can commit them to your Git repository. Like you can save those changes, like this folder called .git will save those changes, like the information, like what you have added, what are the changes you have done and everything. So in this case, this file is just in our working directory, but it is not in our staging area. Now we will add it to a staging area so that Git can track it. So we'll do git add file.txt. Now we'll again check the status. You see, now it has been tracked. So now we are just showing that Git is seeing that there's a new file called file.txt. Okay. Now let's modify this file a little bit. So I'll just open this file. This nano command is a text editor. Like with nano, you can open this file in a text editor in terminal. So if I do this, this opens. And I'll just add some text, uh, git and bash. Okay, so I have kind of modified this file and I'll just save the changes. Now if I do again git status, now you can see that it is tracking the file. Now it is showing that the file has been modified. But if I hadn't added this file here, git add, like if I hadn't added this file in the staging area, it will just show that there's an untracked file called file.txt. It wouldn't have tracked that I have modified this file. So that's what happens if you add it to the staging area. So we again have to add these changes into the staging area. Okay, now again do a status. Okay, so now it will, like, these two changes have been compiled into one change, and it is added in the staging area. After you add it to the staging area, now you can commit it. Commit is like an object, like it stores all the information about whatever the change you have done, and after you commit it, you have your changes are added to your git repository. Like that git folder will now store the entire information about the change. So for that, we use the command git commit, and again there's a flag here called -m. So -m is used to type a message, like a description, like what information is your commit containing, like what are the changes you have done in this commit. So I'll just add a dummy message, like I have just added file.txt. You can also skip this, you can just do git commit simply, but it is a better practice to add a message. Okay, so after, like, I've done this commit, I get this. It shows that we are on the master branch. Yeah,
Aditya,
yeah.
people are asking you to like slow down a little bit. Like you can like
Yeah, you
revive
can ask doubts, like
some. Just
that would be
mute yourself,
better.
unmute yourself, and ask the specific doubt.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that would
would
be
help
better.
you and us as well. So we will wait for 5 minutes. If you have any doubt till yet, like you can ask, what is a repository? What do you mean by commit? What is staging area? And by the way, you can edit the file with your GUI. You don't need to like type nano and txt. You can just click on it and edit. That
Yeah, yeah,
that is
that
also.
that is better. Yeah, like you have to use this terminal commands when you're working on a remote server, but like you are just starting it, so you will be working on a local system, so you don't have to use this. Anyone is asking something? Like it's very slow. The volume is very low.
So we'll wait for like 2 minutes. If anybody have
Okay,
any
I'll
doubt
explain the
regarding.
staging area part again.
Oh, okay. Okay. Or just put your question in chat. We'll read one by one. All of.
Okay, I'll just show them the someone is asking again the nano part. Uh, so let's say I have a file called file1.txt. Now I'll just add here1. Now I have to exit it. So you can see these commands here. So this arrow means control. So whatever command is like O, so you have to do control plus O. So for exit, there is this arrow plus X. So you have to do control plus X. So if you do control plus X, it will ask if you have to modify the changes. Y for yes and for no. Simply do Y and your changes are saved. I think that explains how to exit after command. Please ask in the voice, that will be better. It's difficult to read the chat. Should I, Shivam, Shivam, should I proceed?
I have a doubt.
Yeah, ask it.
Can you explain make directory command once more? It is not working for me.
Okay. Yeah. Are you on Ubuntu or Windows?
Windows.
On Windows, these commands don't work. These are for Linux.
Did you install Git Bash?
Yes.
Are you trying this on Git Bash?
Yes.
Uh,
Can, like, these errors can we look at in the end maybe?
हाँ ठीक है. We'll troubleshoot your
Yeah,
issues
this
in the end.
debugging problem we can see in the end. Anything else related to this theory part? Anyone has any doubt?
Can you explain that staging area, why it's needed, and
Yeah. Okay, I'll explain the staging area. Anything else other than staging area? Anyone? Okay. So I'll explain the staging area again. So, like, when you are adding some content, uh, Shivam, can you mute the other mics? So whenever you add something to a folder which has been git initialized, so what happens is that git will know that there is some files in there, but the thing is it won't track those files. Like it won't uh, see like what is being done in this file. Like even if you change that file, it will just show that there is some file there. Like in this case, when I just added a file.txt with the text git is fun, it just showed me that there's an untracked file. And if I had modified it more, like after this git is fun, if I had modified some text here, it will still show me that there's an untracked file, file.txt. But after I add it to the staging area, if I modify it, then it will show me that this file has been modified. This means it is tracking that file. But even after staging area, like if you do any changes, it won't be saved. You have to, like in your git repository, you have to save them, like so that if you have to revert back to the original file, you can revert it. So in that case, there's this thing comes called git commit. Commit is like an object. Like I don't know if you are read in your ESC 101, but like object which stores this information about any change which you do in your git repository. And I will show you this object. Just like hold on, I'll show you how it looks. But that is what it does. So before you commit, you have to add all those files into a staging area. Like all those files whose changes you have to commit. So they, like when you're writing code, there could be like in your folder, there could be files with code, and there could be also some scrap like dummy files. Like maybe you're writing a code for image editor. So for that, you will have some JPEG files which you're using to test your image editor. But you don't want to save that because you are not changing that images. Like you are not doing any changes in that images. So in that case, you will just, like, let's say in this case, if I had a file.txt and also an image. So I will just add the file.txt to the staging area and not the image, because that is not something which I'll be making any changes into. And I will just commit the uh, file.txt part. So that's where the staging area comes in. Like Git wants to know what it has to commit. Your folder can have a lot of files, but you only want to save some changes in some files, not all of the files. Okay, I think it explains a little bit.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, so I did a commit. So this commit has saved my changes in the file.txt. Now I will show you how it looks like. So for that, you can use the command git show and the name of the commit. So I'll just use this. And yes, if anyone is using Linux terminal, if you have to copy or paste anything, the commands are control plus shift plus C, not control plus C. Okay. If many people are confused about it. So I'll just show you this commit. So after this, yeah, there's a lot of information
Can you
here.
please repeat commit?
Okay, yeah. So commit is like, in this part, I'll just repeat it. So in this part, like I was saying that commit is an object which stores all the information. So these are the information which we can see, which this commit is storing, which I've just done. So when I did this commit, each commit has a name. There are many ways you can call a commit. Like I've just used this part. You can also use this entire hash when calling it. So each commit first has a showered hash, which you can see this one, this huge code. Then it has the information that who has done these changes. So in this case, it knows that I have done this. So it is showing my name and my email address and the time. And it will show the message, like what message you have added. Like I've added the message that I've added file.txt. So it is showing me this message. And then it shows like what you have done the change. So this you can see in the bottom that I have added a file.txt file which has this change. Git is fun and git and bash. Does this explain the commit part? Someone asked.
Okay.
Okay, so it just stores the changes. Like after you do some changes, you can store it using commit. And once you have done this commit, you can anytime revert to this. Like let's say if after this I do a lot of changes and I again want to come back to this. So I can just come back to this commit. Like that part I won't show you. That is a little bit more, but just for a description, this is where it is used to do. Okay, I have to show you the git bash setup. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, okay, now I'll show you something related to this. Like, if you must have been having doubt, how does this know that my name is this and my email address is this? So like after you install Git, you have to do some configuration. So for that, there's a command git config. Okay. And here you have to tell him your name and your email address, the email address with which your GitHub account is made. So I'll just show you. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. So like after you make your, like after you install Git, you have to add your name and your email address. So let's say if only you are using that system, like currently you will be doing on your local laptops, then you can do it global. You can set your name for global, so that if you use any repository, any folder, after you initialize Git, it will have your global name. Like it will just know that your name is this and your email address is this. But if you're on some other system on which multiple people are working, in that case you have to use the command local and like add that name and email address just for that folder which you're going to push to a remote server. We'll go to that in future. Let's just configure it. So I'll just do it global because I'm on my laptop. So you have to give it a global flag, and then you have to write this user.name and add your name. So after you press enter, so Git will save this information that the user who is using Git on this system, his name is this. And similarly, you have to do for email. So in my case, it is this at gmail.com. So after this, I press enter, it will say that the user which is working on this system using Git, his email is this. So you need to do this before you do any commits, because in commit it stores this information that who is doing it and what is his email address. So you have to do this config part before you do this git commit. Okay. So all these changes are currently being saved in a local repository. Any other doubts till now? Anyone? We'll be moving to remote servers. So if you have any doubt, you can ask it. Okay. So let's move to GitHub. So I think you all must have made your accounts on GitHub. So GitHub is, like I said you, it's a host which like stores your local repositories on its cloud, where other people working on the same code can access it. So in this case, like this is my GitHub account. These are all the uh, repositories. So after like you have written some code and you have committed it, you can push it to this remote server called GitHub, and there other people can also access your code and maybe make some changes there. So you have to first create a remote repository here. So for that, we'll just create a new repository. You can do it from here, this new command. So just type new and you can give it any name. So I'm creating a repository with the name Git tutorial. I've already created it. So it is showing me that the name already exists on this account. So I won't create it again, but this is how you create it. Like after you add your name here, you can do it public if you want other people also to see it, or you can do it private if you don't want other people to see it, and then just do create repository. Okay. So after you create your repository, I'll show you mine. After you press create repository, this page will come up. So this is just some commands which you have like to help you to start with your new repository. So this thing which you're seeing here, this is the URL of your remote repository. So this is how this local Git will know where to push your code to. So you have to tell this local Git that where is your remote repository, and that you can tell by using this URL. So for that, we'll just copy it and we'll type a command to tell this local Git that we have a remote repository which we need to connect to this folder. Like any changes we do in this folder called git put, we want to push it afterwards onto this remote repository. So for that, I have to tell it that there's a remote repository with the name git tutorial on GitHub. So for that, we can do git remote add origin. So this git remote, I think you will understand that this remote is, we are telling it that we have a remote repository, and this add is just telling it that we are going to add the URL here. Origin is the name of that remote repository. You can give it any name. I am just giving it origin as that is what is used, but you can give it any name to, that is the name of your remote. You will understand it later on. And then you have to give the URL. So git remote add origin, and this is the URL. So it will now add this URL as your remote GitHub repository, and the name of that remote is origin. Okay, so I'll just press enter and I'll check what are the remotes on this folder. You see now it is showing that this folder, like this push is like where you have to push your code. So this is the URL and its name is given origin. You can also give it some other name. So now I have to, like, after I have made all the changes on my local repository, I now want to push it into this remote repository, those same changes. For that, I use git push. Push is for pushing your local changes to a remote repository. And push to what? So for that, I'll use origin. Like this is the remote of that remote repository. And now, like, there's a command which you can just use. I won't explain this part. This is master. Like master, I said earlier, we won't go into branches, but you have to tell git like which branch you want to push. Okay, so like currently you will all be using just master, so you can just use this command. So after I do git push origin master, it will ask me my username and my password. So after I add my username and uh, yeah, my password. Okay, so now these changes, now you can see it on my remote repository. See, now there's a file called file.txt here. This is the file which I had it in the staging area. And after that, I commit this and then I pushed it to this remote repository. So any doubts till now, like anything related to this?
I've not understood what are you uh, what is going on. I've not understood.
From which part? Like the remote part or earlier than
Yeah,
that?
after you've written the command git config help. After that, I've not
Okay.
understood a single part.
Okay. So you understand like why are we using git config? Have you understand that part?
Yes.
Like we are telling, like you have to tell git like what is your name and what is your email.
Aditya, like let me answer this question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so like what we did is like there is a local copy of in, like you are working on a project, right? So you must have this on your computer, like, but and the projects have like a team and that are like sitting at different places. So you all need to be on the same page. So you create a copy of a project on the Git server, right? And everybody like has a own copy of them. They do some changes on their copy, like add a new feature or fix some bugs, and now we need to push that to the main branch. Like if you see the repositories of big companies like Microsoft and something, like they have a very huge repository, and various people are working on it. So like you need to have a local copy. So but you need to specify what is your local copy of like where is the original and where is your local copy. So we need to tell the Git like this is my local copy, and I am will be pushing this to a remote copy which you specify with the Git remote add. Like okay, an origin is the name and you specify the link there, right? And the Git remote v is like telling you where you what are the like remote repositories you have added to your Git log, like you where you can push. The fetch means you bring out the data from that repository. Push means did some changes on your code locally that is not reflected on the remote server, and you don't like to push it to the server, like everybody can see what you have done, right? So for that we use the push command. The pushing means just it fetches all your data and then push it to the local repository. Obviously you need to like specify the username and password because it has to be secure. Like no it need to know that you are the one that is accessing your GitHub account. So like, and that you can also check what commits you made by git log, like what commits you have made and you pushed and all. Is this clear your doubt?
Yes.
Like you just need to understand like there are three main terms, three and four main terms, like push, pull, and then commit and stage. Yeah. So staging, so staging area is basically like you want to get to know like these are the file I want you to see, that I want you to track, right? So you add it to the stage so the Git can see it. Like it's literally meant a stage, like where you can the Git can see it. And and the why there is a different stage and commit, not directly commit, because if you want to like revert back from changes, so you can just do from the commit part, like you can just remove anything from commit or add anything else from the commit. What is commit? When you commit something to the remote repository, it like creates it is like a time machine, right? It detects what changes you have made, and it keeps the log of the changes, and when you commit it, adds it to the local repository. But now when you add it to the local repository, you need to add it to the remote repository so everybody else can be on same page, right? You cannot just like develop on your own local machine and everybody else don't know about it. So then you will like push all the changes to your remote repository via push command. And I think you get it now, or should I explain more?
I got it.
ठीक है. Anyone else doubt? Anybody else have any doubt?
Can you
Like any
explain what was origin?
origin is like a convention. Like you can have any name for
Your remote.
for your repository, but people just use origin like it is a convention that people follow. And Git also like by default uses the name origin because origin is the place from where the code is coming. Like if you take the uh, remote repository as the source where you are copying these files, that is the origin for your local machine, right? Local copy of that project. So it takes the name origin. You can add any name as you like, but origin is generally the convention and people use it, like so they don't face any issue after they forgot name and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's just a name.
Yes.
Okay.
What
Any
was the use of get remote hyphen v? I mean, what is it used for?
it stands for get remote dash verbose. Verbose means you want to see what are the what is the remote repository that you are currently linked to, right? You want to push it your code, right? You have to specify where you push it. So the Git like keeps a record of the repository where you want to push code. To see where you can push, like just type get remote v, it will show you where you can from bring the code, that is fetch, and where you can push the code, that is push. And the origin is the name of repository that you gave, that and that between is the link, obviously.
Okay.
Any else have any doubts? So we'll wait for 1 minute, then we'll continue.
How you did that password part?
That password is your password for your GitHub account, which you like when you create your GitHub account. That at that time you will add some username and your password. So that was just that password, which I've saved in some file.
Oh, okay.
I don't get that fetch part. What is the meaning of this fetch?
Okay, so like Huh. So when various people are working on any project, it is possible that you are not only one that is making the changes, right? Anybody else had is working like they for like on a like if I tell you about how companies work, like they have different departments for different features. Like some is working for the interface part, some is working on the back end and stuff. So it is possible that there are people who have had made a new feature or fixed a bug that is not on your local machine, but it is when pushed to the remote repository. So you all need to have be on safe page as there will be issues. So you bring that code from the remote repository via fetch.
The command for that is git pull, and like you did git push, and you specified from which remote you have to, uh, like to which remote you have to push that changes. And similarly for fetch, you have to do git pull. So this will pull the code from a remote repository. So in this case, if I do git pull origin, again I have to specify the branch. So again I have to do master. So if I did any changes in this remote repository which are not on my local, so after I do git pull, those changes will come inside my local system. Is it clear?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So only git clone and fork is left. So I'll just show you git clone. So like GitHub is open source, so you can also use other people's code, uh, and that's most of the time what people are doing. So let's say there's a repository called YOLO v5, and I want to use this code. Let's say I want to make some changes or simply use their code. So what I'll do is I have to like download it on my local system. So for that, I will copy this URL. Like this URL is like a uh, like this defines any remote repository, and it is different for every repository which is on GitHub. So I'll just copy this URL and I'll use the command. Like I'll go into my home directory and I'll use the command git clone. So what this clone will do, that it will copy this entire repository on my local system. So if I do git clone, and if I do like now I have a folder called YOLO v5 with the same whatever was on this remote repository. I now have it in my local. Is it understood? Any doubts this part? Now you can use their code, like, or you can make some changes in this code and use it as you like. Now one last command is fork. So you can do it directly on the remote on the GitHub website. So let's say there's this GitHub repository and there's some problem, like there's some issue with that, and I want to solve that. So I cannot directly solve it on their remote repository. I have to create my own. So for that, I'll use fork. So when I do fork, then I will also have a copy of that same repository on my GitHub account. So like here, earlier it was Ultralytics, like Ultralytics was the name of that account, and they had YOLO v5. Now here CPPy is my username, and now even I have that remote repository on my account. Now what I can do is I can make any changes to this remote repository, and after like I am satisfied with those changes, I can add a pull request to this remote repository so that they can have those same changes in there. Okay, I won't go into pull request, but that's why we use fork. Is it okay? Shim, do you need to add anything?
No, does anybody have any doubt? Like we'll wait for 5 minutes, then we have to discuss some other stuff like Numpy. So if anybody have, just mute yourself and ask any doubt regarding Git and GitHub. Like you all will be needing this a lot, like because most of the people use this GitHub account, and if you are looking up to contribute in open source and stuff like GSOC, then you should know this. Like, this is the main
It looks a
stuff.
little confusing in the start, but like need to practice it. Like after you do a practice, then you will find it very easy and very helpful when you're working on any code. I think Shivam, you can start with the NumPy part.
हाँ, so अपना screen like stop कर दो. While I'm sharing my screen, you can ask if you have any doubt. Just unmute yourself.
ठीक है, आ जाते बाइक है। अबे भाई
दिख रहा है क्या ये numpy कोलैब का? हेलो,
हाँ दिख रहा है, चलो
ठीक है ना? हाँ ठीक है. So we'll start in a minute. By the way, you can open like your collab notebooks to follow along. ठीक है, we'll start now. ठीक है. So let me just tell you about what are libraries and module. Various people work on Python, right? So like they create their own code and for the stuff they need. So like people think that what I have written might be useful for somebody else. So they can like push their code to a remote repository, like using GitHub, like for instance, to a server of Python where you can see the modules. Modules is like it has various functions and utilities that you can use in your own for your own benefits, right? So you can like download any module for any Python and use it straight away. So like, and the beauty of Python, like it shines in its module because there are huge number of modules and you get a lot of options for basically anything. So how do you install a module? Like if you have Python installed locally on your machine, you can use pip command. Let me just show you how to. By the way, if you want to run commands for terminal commands on Colab, you have to use exclamation mark. Like if I do pwd, it is printing the current current directory. You can use ls here also. So it is showing what are the contents. Yeah. If you want to install any module for Python that is not on your machine locally, you can just use pip install and the name of module like NumPy. It is already installed here, so it might throw an error.
शिवम बस CD वाले भी बता देना.
हाँ ठीक है. So it is showing the required already satisfied. But if you do in your terminal, it will like take a couple of seconds to install NumPy. And for the cd command, like cd stands for change directory.
In this case, you have to do exclamation mark.
You have to add exclamation mark to tell the Colab notebook that it is not a Python command, it is a terminal Linux command, right?
Yeah. Like in CD, do this percentage instead of exclamation.
Yes. You can like make a new. Let's make a new folder.
Yeah.
Test. Right, and you can see what are the contents of this folder. So there's a folder called test. Yeah, take it. So you can just change to that. Let's not get into like Linux again. Let's discuss Python. So we will be discussing a like module that is very popular, that is NumPy, which stands for numerical Python. So you can check the version with the okay. How do we use a module first? So for using a module, you need to tell the interpreter of the Python that we are using this module. We use this by using the import command. It imports command, and if sometimes the names can be very long, so you use literally a nickname for it, which is import NumPy as NP. Like you want to refer NumPy as NP. Everywhere you write NP, it understands it as NumPy. So like we can check the current version by npy dot underscore underscore version. You can see it for yourself. If you run it, it will show you the current version. So like what is numpy basically? So numpy like numpy is a module that has a lot of utilities regarding matrices. You must have known them from your 12th standard. So like numpy allows various operation on matrices like calculation of inverses, determinant, solving characteristic equation and stuff. You there are some stuff you won't understand now, but you will after your MTH 102 in sem 2. So like it is, and usually like people blame Python for being too slow, but the beauty of this library is that it is not actually Python. It converts internally the code into the C functions, which is very fast as compared to the Python list like you had which you were told like yesterday. So what are like the basic data type of the Python is a NumPy array. So how do you create one? Like you first have to import NumPy, like import NumPy is NP, and then we create a array. Like you set a name NPy dot array, and we initialize it with the data. Like we can initialize with a 1D array. This is like one across 4 array. This is called a horizontal vector, and you will be using vectors a lot. Like vectors are mostly used in machine learning and stuff. You will look at in later, and yeah, you can like tightly print them using the print function in Python. So this remember, so like the what you write inside these uh, right inside these parentheses, then square bracket, they need to be have the same data type. Like in C, you can't have like stuff like Python list, like everything is a different data type. You need to have the same data type, right? So like here it is a 1D array, and the second one it is also it's a vertical vector, like it is 3x1 matrix. You can see like that. Okay. So anybody have any doubt until now? You can unmute yourself and ask if what is a module or anything.
शिवम मैंने इसका कॉपी शेयर कर दिया है इसका कोलैब का.
हाँ
ओके
हाँ तो ठीक है. You can like copy you on your locally and run play along. So how do we create a 2D array? So inside this square bracket, everything that you pass should be an individual element, right? So this is an individual element which itself is a list, kind of. So that this is the first row, then the second row, then third row. Here also like it is only the first row. Here it is the first row has only one element, the second has two is two, and like so on. So you can, there are some how do we call this function? This is it's simply numpy.array, and you pass data. There are other options as well. I have written it in the comment. Like you can pass a data type. You can like specify what you want to be data type of. D type equal to int, right? And you can read like order then this is copy. Like if you pass an anything that is already variable, did you want to copy it or you want to make it the thing you passed as an array? So you can with this attribute copy equal to true. If you make it false, then it will make that thing an numpy array instead of copying the element and making that an array. Okay. So you can there are attributes, data types in Python. Like so there are various data types like int 8 is 8-byte int, is 16 bytes, and float 32, 64. These numbers are the size of the individual element, 64 bytes, right? And like you can also have a complex data type. If you run this because I don't have any complex part. If I have like, it will have like this complex. So you can define data type as per you, but you need to remember that everything has to be of same data type. You can like check your what is the size of the array with a dot shape. A dot shape, if it is a 1D array, it would be like this, 3 dot nothing. You can also reshape your array, and like for B, let me see what is B. Yeah. Okay. Huh. So let me, you can reshape your array to a different shape, but you need to remember that the product of the dimension need to be same. Like you cannot have here 3. It will most probably show an error. Yes. Okay. Acha, I didn't run the cell above. ठीक है. Let me just run the cells first. हाँ ठीक. Why it is showing error? Yeah, obviously you cannot have like the product of the dimension should be same, right? Because you need to have the same number of elements. So the number of rows into number of columns should be same for any resize you do. And you can like print the item size, what is the individual data type of the item that is in the numpy array, and the number of dimensions. The dimensions is the how much rows you have. Like this for a it must be int 16. Yeah, acha, complex. The complex is of int 16 type. The real part is of int 16, and the imaginary part is of int 16. Right. So you can do this. Now let's move toward how we create an array for an empty array, zeros, array with 0 and 1s. Like it are important because you need them. So for creating an empty array, you just like use the empty command. You specify the dimension and the data type. Like the syntax is pretty like easy. You can just see like it's literally zeros for zeros, ones for ones. You specify the size and the data type. And like if you have a Python list and you want, by the way, anybody have any issue like in understanding anything? You can just run along to see. Anybody have any issues? Okay, I will take that a no for an answer. Okay, so like how do we make Python? How do we make a NumPy array from a Python list? You like pass, use the command as an array, and you pass the list and the data type, right? How do we iterate? Yeah, so it's same as like how you have seen like for the basic list. You all the techniques that you use, all the indexing that you use, the slicing stuff, like you can print. Okay, you can print with any another. So all the indexing works that are used in Python in NumPy. So how do we join NumPy arrays? Like if you have bunch of arrays, you want to join them. How do we join them? So there are three functions I would like to discuss: the stack function, hstack, and the vstack, right? So the stack function like it takes two function and like stack them like literally. Huh, huh. So let's print the output and see. Huh. So, huh. So this is a vector. This is a vector. So it stacks the vectors horizontally. Like vectors are vertical arrays, and they stack them horizontally. Like, okay, and you can specify the axis if you want to stack them horizontally. You can specify the axis. Axis 1 is horizontal. Axis 0 is vertical. And but there's also a function called hstack. Hstack does the horizontal stacking, but you need to remember that the number of rows that are there need to be same, else it will throw an error. Like if you stack two arrays, you horizontally like side by side, you need to have like the number of rows equal, right? Else there would be an error. Let me just make this an error. Yeah, so all input dimension must have same dimension. So dimension, you have to check for the dimension before doing this. Where do we use these functions? Like these functions are mostly used in machine learning, where you have the data and you want to like do operations on them using matrices. So the vectors are the individual data or the parameters. You stack them horizontally or vertically, and then you use matrix operation to get the results. Okay. And the Numpy module is like used by mostly all the module you're gonna see in the future. Like it is used by Matplotlib for plotting. It is used by scikit and TensorFlow for machine learning. It is used by OpenCV for image processing as well. So it is very fundamental that you understand, like get familiarized with it, right? So searching and sorting. So for searching, I would like to like discuss two algorithms first. For searching, there are two algorithms that is used: a linear search and a binary search. Okay. So for linear search, it's literally like swapping, like moving from left to right and matching if the element match with the element that you are searching for. Like if you are searching for element 4, it will like go from left to right and search for the element and returns the indexes where the element is present. Okay. So if you just run this, so 3, 5, 6. So it is zero base indexing, by the way. So it is at index 3, 5, and 6. So and there so linear search is easy, like okay. So for binary search, you need to have the array sorted, else why it won't work. So for sorted array, if you want to find any element, you have to check for the middle element of that array. If the middle element is bigger than the array, the element that you're finding, it must be on the left side of that of the array. Or if the middle element is smaller than the element that you're trying to find, it must be on the right side of the array, right? So you just need to search for on the either part. So like it reduces the runtime quite well, and it is very fast. But one condition you need to remember, that the array must be sorted. And for searching using binary search in Numpy, you use search sort. You can also like read here for the description. So yeah, and for S7, it, by the way, if it finds the element, it returns the index. If it don't find the element in the array, it returns the index of the next element that is greater than it, right? So if you want for okay, so you can, if you want to insert the element that you are searching for in the array, if you don't find it, it will return the array index of the element that is greater. So you can insert it at that position. I hope I am clear. If anybody have any doubt, like understanding what is linear search or binary search, you will see them in ESC 101 as well. Anybody have any doubts? Aditya, can you check the chat for doubts? Like I'm not able to see the chat.
Yeah, we are checking it. I'm checking the chat.
Okay, like seems like nobody you have doubts. So let's move on then. Like you can also sort an array using the sort function. By the way, you don't need to remember the syntax mostly. You just need to understand what are the data types and how they work. Because you can always like search for them on the documentation, or just Google it so you can find the syntax. So like you can sort it, but the thing is, for the functions, you either pass them by arguments, by reference, or either pass them by value, right? So if you pass them by value, they just copy the elements of what you have passed and then apply operations on them. But if you pass them by reference, they modify the original element that you pass them, right? So the sort element is takes the value by copying it and the sorts it. So if you sort the array, it won't change the order of the elements in the original array. It just make a copy of them, right? So if you print the np.sort an array, they won't be the same. Like you can see, like it's not sorted. And so you can, if you want to sort the array that you are passing, you have to reassign it, like ar equal to np.sort.
शिवम,
हाँ,
वो पूछ रहे हैं कौन सा सॉर्ट मैकेनिज्म यूज कर रहा है.
अच्छा, sort, I think it is quick sort. Most programming language use quick sort as their primary sorting algorithm because it's fast. But like you don't like need to like go into sorting algorithms for now. If you know them, that's well and good. But take care. Okay, so हाँ हाँ yes, for sorting a boolean array, you let's see how it sorts a boolean array. If you like run this again. So can anybody like tell why the falses come first and the true all they came in the last, like after the false? Like write in the chat if you know how.
False equals to 0, true equals to 1 बोल रहा है.
हाँ ठीक है सही. हाँ तो like Python treats false as 0 and true as 1. It's so the 0 should come first. ठीक है. तो like you must have seen like functions like range and stuff for looping. You pass a number and you loop through them in arrays. So you can also do this with Numpy. There's 3 functions: arrange, uh, uh, and line space. Yeah. So arrange is similar to range in Python.
शिवम,
हाँ.
एक मिनट, बनाना एप्पल ऑरेंज कैसे सॉर्ट हुआ पूछ रहा है.
Oh, sorry, I like missed it. So you guys are familiar with lexicographical sorting? Just type yes or no in the chat. Okay, ठीक है. So what is lexicographical sorting? It is a sorting technique like which use the first point of difference method. If you see the first point of difference in these 3 words, like the first point of difference is on the first word, right? So it sort on the basis of the first position of difference. So the first place is difference for all 3. So A should come first, then B should come second, and then C. If you like add anything else, like apple It's 1, 2, 3. Yes. If you add like, then like now this should come first, because if you see the first point of difference between all these three, the first three are all the same, but the second one is P and A should come first. So this would be the first element. Yeah, see, okay. So like let's move on to arrange. So like arrange, it allows you to like create a sequence of numbers. You just, it's same like range. You just start pass the pass the starting, ending, and how much step you want, and also the data type. Like if you want to be it float, you pass float. By default it take float 16, I guess. So if you want it to be integer, you have to pass integer here. Okay. So and there's another function line split. I find it more useful because like it has various options in it. So in line space, you pass the start point and end point. There's other option as well. It has the number is the number of division you want to make, and it divides the interval from 0 to 10 into the number of division that you pass. By default it is 50. So if it divides it into 50 different equal spaced values, like the difference is constant. And if you want to include the endpoint, you just pass endpoint equal to true. If you want it not to be included, like the normal ranges, you just pass it to be false. Okay. So why are we creating the sequences? Like its sequences are help in plotting different graphs. You can like plot the graph of sine, tan, basically any graph using Matplotlib and Numpy. Okay. So these are used to create a sequence of number on which you will evaluate any function and plot it on the XY curve. Slice. So if you want to get specific subsequence of a sequence that you created earlier, you can create a slice object. What slice stores is the how you want to pick the elements. So it stores the start index, the end index, and how much step you want to take in the each step. Okay, I messed up here. No, so it and by the way, the last index is not included. So it takes all this. It's take care. So filtering. So this is a very interesting concept in Python and NumPy, that you can filter an array with use of a Boolean value. Okay, you don't need to like if I tell you that you have to select all the number that are greater than 42. What you can do is like loop through the array with a for loop and use the if condition. Like if I create an empty list, and empty list, and for I in like this is the brute force approach, you can say. If I greater than 42 list, you must have seen these functions yesterday. By the way, if you have any doubt regarding list, you can also ask it today. No. Just print it. So it prints 43 and 44. So there is a very neat way of doing that in Python, that you can create a Boolean expression and store it in a variable like array greater than 42, and it will filter and pick the elements at the indices where this condition is true, right? And list appends me. Okay, list append is a inbuilt function in the list that lets you add an element at the back of the list. Like it is an empty list. If you append an element, it will add it at the back. If you append another, it will let's keep adding on the back. Okay. So how do we like choose which element to be picked and not? So you create an array of number of Boolean values. You make that indices true, which you want to pick, and false, which you don't want to pick, right? So if you can do this by hand, like you want to pick 41, you make it true. You don't want to pick 42, you make it false. So and then you just pass this x as a parameter in the array, and it will automatically pick all the stuff that is true and discard everything that is false, right? So but you can also do this by creating a Boolean expression here, array greater than 42. You will know how we are comparing an array and a number later. So like, and just you can pass this Boolean expression in the array, and it will automatically pick all the elements where the indices where the element are satisfy this condition. We will, I think I can post them some question after the session on the Slack. Okay, random numbers. Random numbers are important. Like random numbers are used a lot in machine learning and stuff. So like you should like first know that there's nothing like random numbers in computers, because for everything you want to create on computer, you need to have a descriptive algorithm for that. You need to be precise or rigorous, if you want to say it. So and anything that is like precise or rigorous cannot be random. You can always predict it. So what we do is we create a pseudo random numbers. Like they are not completely random, but you can't determine them with anything. I think it is called chaotic system in physics or mathematics. Anyways, so what they do, they have some inbuilt algorithm. Most algorithm use your system time. Like if you create it now, it will use your time parameter from your system to create a random number, and when you create it any other time, it would take that time. So they won't be different, like they won't be same. Okay, so like it's quite simple to create them. Like you just the numpy dot. So every module has like different sub modules. So you can just call this function is in the random. So you cannot call that directly. You need to tell the Python that it is located in the random module that is located in the numpy module. And this is done by the dot operator. Like it resolves where the element of function is. So it literally takes two arguments, like the end value and the start and the end, and it provides a random number between it. So every time you print it, it would be different. Okay. So and if you want a random number between 0 and 1, you just use rand function. Like it returns the element every time. What if you want to have a discrete probability distribution of a sample space? Like so if you want to like choose from this a random number from these sequences, so you use a choice function for that. You can just choose. And also if you want to create a, let me see, here. So what is random number distribution? So if you want to like create a sequence of random numbers, so you specify, like you must have heard about like normal distribution or the Euler distribution. So if you or the continuous density graph, similar to like the Schrodinger wave density function. So that those are the random probability functions. So you can create them your own. You can just like specify the choice that you want these numbers to be distributed, and you provide the individual probability of each element. Like you want the probability of 3 to be 0.1, 5 to be 0.3 and stuff. But remember, you need to have the sum equal to 1, right? The sum of all probabilities should be 1. And this is the size, like what is the size of the array? Okay.
I don't get the random array part.
Sorry? Can you repeat
I
your
don't
question?
get that random array part above.
Which part?
ये third statement, array of
ये
random data.
अच्छा ये वाला ठीक है. So so it like if you pass a array, you don't want a random number, you want a randomness in a set, that you pick element randomly. So you use this choice function, you pass a numpy array here, the choice function, like you can use choice function to randomly pick this element. You can also implement choice function on your own, using this randint function. Does anyone know how to do it? Like you can, like, how to use randint function to generate choice function? Can anybody like write in chat or unmute yourself and tell? No, you can't give probability like 1/3 or 1/7, because you can like convert them in fractions, but they won't be accurate. There would be some recurring error, precision error to be precise. Can anybody tell how to implement choice function using the randint function? I can wait for 5 minutes. Or if you have any doubt, you can ask.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can we include steps in random function?
What do you mean by steps in random function?
Like 90, 100, 2. So it would choose from 90, 92, 94, and so on.
Okay. Yeah. So I think not, but let me check. I think a better way to do this is, you can, if you know the start and the end of the start number and end number where you want to pick, and you know the step, you just create a sequence of numbers using the line space or a range, and just use the choice function. Like that would be a better approach.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? You guys know about floating point error in floating numbers? Yes or no? No. Okay. So take care. So like as you know, like a computer assign a specific memory to every data type. So like the float is of like 8 bytes or 16 bytes. So you cannot have infinite numbers in like limited space, right? So you can't put 0.3 recurring in a 16 byte memory. It would be like just 0.33301, and in last it would terminate. So which is not equal to the original fraction that you wanted to store. So that is the floating point error that occurs, like because you cannot have you cannot fit a non-terminating number into a finite size memory. You need to be like careful, especially in C. It occurs a lot. Like Python, you have big numbers. Like you can in Python you can change the size of memory automatically. It detects basically how much space is required. Like if you want to print uh, like 10 to the raise 15, it would like do it on its own. See, it automatically assign the memory as much required, but it is not the case because it is dynamically typed language. I hope you all know the difference between dynamical type and the static type languages. Oh, okay. So like in dynamic type languages, you don't need to specify data type. Like, if you want to specify like a equal to 15, 14, let's say, then print a, and then you reassign a to a string, like, and then again print a. So it will automatically recognize the data that you are assigning to it, and automatically change the type of the variable, which is not the case in the static type language, because you need to specify beforehand what are the type of data you are storing. Like in C, you write it like int a equal to 15, 12, like something like this. So you can't do this in Python. You don't use static typing here. This is yes, no, no. So like, okay, let's move on to Python broadcasting. Like it is important. It is used a lot. Okay. So what broadcasting it means, like you take an array of smaller elements. Basically, if you want to perform any operation on an array using a smaller array that is not the same, that such that the mathematical operation is not defined, like multiplication of two, like 5 cross 1 into 5 cross 1 array. You can't do like using matrix multiplication, but the Python like has a way to get over it. Like, okay, so it recognize, you need to like remember some rules. Like if you are using a array of smaller dimension to operate on the array of higher dimension, one of the dimension of the smaller array has to be one, like size has to be one. Okay, and the size of the output should be the maximum of the input size. Okay, so let's take an example, you will understand. So like if I take an array, so like you cannot add a scalar to an array normally, but you can do it in Python. Like if you print array plus 5, it will expand this 5. It will broadcast this 5 to each element of the array. Like it will add 5 to each element. You can do any operation, like you can do multiply, divide, you can or any other operations. Like you can add two similar arrays. Like here, if a is a 1 2 3 4 4, and b is like this, so you need to like, but make sure that the element, the at least one dimension is same, right? You can't have 1 2 3 4 5 into 1 2 3 into 10 20 30 40. That would result in an error. Yeah, so you can't broadcast 4 with 5. So this comes very handy when you want to manipulate various numbers simultaneously, right? So okay, we'll look into some mathematical functions as well. There's a lot of function, like you can read in the documentation. Let's see like one few of them. So like np.sign, it literally takes an number, an array, and takes the sign of each element. So if you like want to try to implement this on your own, you need to write different function for different data types. Like if you want to operate on a single element, like you want to define the sign function, take a number a, you return like a sign of a. By the way, if you want to use you need to import a math library, inbuilt math library from Python, to use mathematical function that are not included in Numpy. Okay, so So okay, I didn't call this function.
शिवम स्टाउट
Huh.
चेक
Oh, but the array, like, can you like speak up where you exactly want? Is it out? Acha, broadcasting. Last element. ठीक है? No.
In the broadcasting example, where you added 5 at the last, so
Yes.
in the B array, can the last element be made 0?
No, like Python doesn't assume like it to be 0. Like you can't. Python doesn't expand any array on its own unless it satisfy the rules of broadcasting. But because if you like, it does. How can it assume that it is 0? Like you don't. What if you want to divide these numbers like by these numbers? Like it will throw an error, right? So it takes, at least you need to have some rules, right, to do stuff. So you just need to remember that what you are broadcasting, there is an one-to-one corresponding to each element, right? They, you can't have one element operating into two elements. I hope I'm clear, or do I need to explain more?
Okay.
Basically, arrays are dynamic, but you need to tell Python to at least expand the array or initialize the array if you want to expand them, because we don't reshape them or resize them. It won't assume it's on its own that there will be a 0 here.
Okay.
Huh. So the why NumPy is one of the reason why NumPy is popular, because you need to write different functions for different data types. Like if you want to like sum two numbers, you need to like define a function with two parameters like x and y. But if you want to sum three numbers or more, like you need to add different functions for different type, right? So what is it is done like in NumPy functions, it is pretty generic. You can either pass a simple number, it as a 1x1 matrix, or you can pass any other matrix and it applies that function to every element. Okay. So another way of doing operation like numpy.sign. By the way, I am taking this array of 10, 30, 45, 60 and converting, taking the sign. But you need to remember that the sign take the value in radian. So you need to convert into radian. So np.pi is the value of pi. You don't need to specify on your own. It takes its own. And np.pi, and it converts and then prints it here. Okay. So like there are some like more linear algebra stuff. You will see them in MTH 1 or 2. I'll just discuss few of them. So like in linear algebra, everything is treated as a matrix, and you do all the operation with terms of matrix. By the way, linear algebra is like very important if you are doing machine learning, because you with matrix operation you get to operate on a large set of number at once, right? You don't have to like loop through each number and modify them. Okay. So like some of the operations here are dot. This is the scalar product or the vector dot product. This is a vertical dot. It is a bit different. Like dot takes the value horizontally, and the v dot takes the, actually wait, let me show. Let me run this first. ठीक है. So this np dot is Like you can like multiplication is the matrix multiplication that you study in mathematics. Determinant, like literally calculate determinant. So this solves the character equation, like this the equation of the form AI equal to X. It finds the AX equal to I. It solves for the X, like for 3 variable. You can like do your MTH102 assignment with Numpy. So I think that's it for Numpy. Numpy is easy. Like you can also go to its site and read tutorials. It has like pretty good tutorials there. We'll see a little bit glimpse of Matplotlib. है ना? ठीक है. For inverses, just you need to make sure. So Numpy has an inbuilt library called linear algebra, LINALG. All these inverse function and the dot function are there in the linear algebra submodule. You need to specify like the ing. Just make sure that the matrix you are giving us invertible, else it would throw an exception. Let's move to Matplotlib. Okay, so Matplotlib is a plotting library. It helps you to like plot graphs and pictures and stuff. So basically, Matplotlib and Numpy are derived from MATLAB. If you have heard of it, it is a software that used to do numerical analysis. You can get it with your IITK ID, by the way. So let's import MATLAB. And as convention, we import matlab.pyplot. Pyplot is the submodule of Matplotlib that we use to plot graphs, and we use it as plot. Like it is a convention to import it as plot. You can use any name here. Okay. And you need to import Numpy as well, because matplotlib.pyplot uses Numpy internally to operate. So like you can just literally put a graph here. It's the main function that we are going to see today is plot. It takes 2 arguments like X and Y. Like you can see it takes argument, scale X, how to scale the X, that is this one, scale Y, and some other arguments. The Y level, like this is the Y level, this is the X level. So there is a difference between plotting a graph and showing a graph. So first you need to plot the graph, then you need to show the graph, right? So for plotting the graph, you first fill the graph with all the information you need, like plotting specifying the x-axis, y-axis, the labels and the legend, and at last you show the graph, right? Both are the difference. You don't plot and show at the same time. Okay. So you can like it is the plot is like a very generic function. You can like just pass what is the value of X, what is the value of Y, and it would plot it. And by default, it plot it as a like continuous fashion. So if you want discrete, like you want just the point 1, 1, 2, 4, you have to pass other parameter, that is the plotting style. Let me show you. So this is the plotting style. Like if you by default it is B minus, which is stands for B blue and a straight line, like continuous line. If you pass arrow, it would be a red dots like this. And if you can't like join them, it would be the same graph. So these basically Numpy and Python are very important if you want to get into data science. Like let me tell you about little bit about machine learning, how we do stuff. Like if you want to train a model, you find what are the dependencies of parameters and what you want to find. Like if you want to calculate the stock prices, you want to know that what are the things that you need to look for, what are the parameters you want on which this value depends, right? So you get them by plotting the graph. Like you take a lot of data and what you want to find, and you plot the graph and you see how the value is dependent on each other. So as per that, you choose what we are going to take as the parameter and what we are going to train, right? So this is called like feature engineering. You will see like it in 2 or 3 days, like how we choose. Basically, we just plot the data and see how the trend is going. And like if you see that this is the stock prices with like year, so you know that with increase in year there would be increase in stock prices. So you know the higher year would have a higher stock price, right? Something like that. So, by the way, there is one important thing I want to tell. If what if you want to plot more than one graphs? Okay, so if you can do by using the subplot function. It takes like 3 arguments. This is a plot that figure. It specifies the size of the figure. It like if you change it to 15, it would change the size of it. It would make it broader. This is the height. The first one is height and the other is width. So subplot takes the 3 value. It is the number of rows your graph has. It is the number of columns and which current graph you want to work on. So this is there are three columns, 1, 2, 3, and there's only one row. And I want to plot the first graph. So I pass one, and the first graph is a bar graph. So you use a inbuilt function dot bar. You pass the names like this. Basically, we are plotting a categorical value. Group A, Group B, and scroll a bit. Group A, Group B, and Group C. So it will plot them. If you want them to be scattered, so there are 3 type of graph here. Bar, this is like histogram. Scatter plot is just plots the point like x comma y, and this is the continuous normal plots like linear plots. So if you want to work on the first plot, like I said, you don't like plot and show at the same time. You have to first plot them and show them at the last. So I want to plot the first graph first. So I defined that I'm gonna plot the first graph, and then you put the function whatever you want, like the names and the values. It plots, and then unless you specify like type the like plot dot next graph, it will assume that all the code that you write here is for the first graph. Like anything that you write here, it would be for the first graph. Like then you fill again plot the second graph and third graph. And super title is the title of the whole 3 curve. So it lets you compare different values, like how the parameter is varying with different parameters. So it lets you compare. All this would like help you in data science and stuff, like to get what are the correct parameter that I want to train my model on. Okay, let's do another example. Like I want to plot the sine curve, so I need to have x values. So I'm taking the angle from 0 to 360 with the step size of 0.5 equal 0, 0.5, 1, so on. And the first graph is for sine, and the second is for cos. I'm plotting it with the radian, converting it to radian first because it takes the value in radian. So I want 2 graphs for sine and cos. So I specify subplots. One for first row, there will be 2 columns, and I want to plot the first graph. So it takes the first graph, and the same stuff, like you specify the x label, that is the x-axis, the y label, and the title for each graph. Then I'm going to the second graph and do the same thing for basically all. And that's it. Like this is the basics you need to know. Like for basically we are teaching you about this because it would help you in advanced stuff like machine learning and OpenCV. Like they would need this a lot. So you will get to practice them there as well. So I think that's it. If you want, you can ask anything, just unmute yourself, or if you want to go, like you can leave.
Can you explain what is a model?
Where?
Can you explain what is a model? You are using the word model.
Acha, so like there are different algorithms that on which you train your machine, right? There are different approaches to train. You will like learn them on introduction to machine learning. Basically, there are 3 types of method, like supervised learning, unsupervised, and reinforcement. So you will learn them on the machine learning session. So there you need to know that first you need to know what you want to predict, right? and then you need to know what are the things your graph is dependent, or your model should look for when it's trying to predict the outcomes, right? So that helps when you have a graph, like visual representation of every parameter of everything. So it helps with even you need to know numpy and stuff, right? Any other doubt?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you explain the all the arguments with this subplot takes, right? Like 1 comma 2 comma 1. So what does this one stands for?
Okay, subplot.
Yes.
Are you asking about subplots? Huh? So subplot, first you need to know how many like graph you want to plot. So you need to plot. If you should know the number of rows. This one is the number of rows. The second argumented part is the number of columns, and the third last is the index of the first for a graph that you're working on. If it would be a 2D like matrix of graphs, like in the first row there are different graphs, in the second row, then this would be a tuple. I think you pass it like this: the first row, second graph, like this.
Okay. So the first number gives the number of rows.
Yes. Like if you can see in this one, like 1 3, there are 3 graphs, so there must be 3 columns for each graph, and the number of rows is 1. You can like play around, you can try every trigonometric function. It will be like 6 graphs, and you can plot for 0 to 360 for each.
Okay, thank you.
Any other doubts? Yes.
Can you suggest some resources, because these sessions are more or less basically like a crash course, so we might be needing some more details into like
so you
these
can
topics
just
like machine learning and
I think
stuff.
you can just go to numpy documentation, like you can just literally go to numpy documentation. Are you take so you can just go here, or you can use a reference guide, or let me just go. They also, the site has very nice examples. I learned from like the site as only, like learn. You can go here. So they are beginners. There are also some books on the videos. You can just go and search through them. Uh, Basically, documentation helps for anything you want to learn. So just try to like read the documentation if you're stuck. Like if you want to search for plots for Matplotlib, like Matplotlib. So, like just type Matplotlib search, and it will take you to documentation. Just read what are the argument it need to get to passed, and what are the stuff that you need to take care of. What any else doubt?
शिवम, ये कोलैब पे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखाना बता दिया, मतलब किसी फंक्शन को कैसे देख सकते हैं?
नहीं
वो बस दिखा दो, काफी इजी पड़ेगा.
I think you can just hover over on anything. It should show.
हाँ वैसे दिखा दो, मतलब उस पे जाओ, उस फंक्शन में वो कॉमा या कुछ सब प्रेस कर दो तो पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट दिखाता है.
Like you can like
कॉमा अंदर ब्रैकेट के, अंदर ब्रैकेट के.
So yes, you can you see the parameters number, like you can see the number of columns, number of rows, and the index where you want to edit the graph.
Scroll भी कर सकते हैं इसमें.
Like you can play around with this collab. Also, you can, if you don't have any like Linux system, I would say you can use like collab for like use playing around with Linux commands as well. By the way, this is your Explorer. You can see what are the folders here. Like this is a section, and this is the Explorer. What are the stuff that are there in the current collab notebook? Like there would be a folder. You can create a new folder or copy this to drive. Anybody have any other doubts?
Also, can you guide us about some more theoretical topics like machine learning in it? self
You
task?
will be having a session for machine learning like in 2 or 3 days. Like these are the like you need to know about NumPy, Matplot and stuff before machine learning. That's why we are doing this first. I think the day 5 is introduction to machine learning, and we will be discussing two models the next day and the day next to other day, like the linear regression and a neural network. So do attend those sessions for if you want to like get into machine learning and stuff. And ask the person who is taking lecture on that to provide you with resources. He will like give you stuff. Anybody have any other doubts? Anything?
If you have any doubts after this, you can ask on a Slack also.
If you want to leave, you can leave. I think you have a session for counseling service as well.
Hello.
Yes.
Can we get something of the Git commands which we used today?
We will share the PPT. You can like see and walk through. And if you have any doubt, you can just message us on Slack.
Okay. You will share the PPT on Slack.
Yes.
Okay,
And do like
What is
post messages
Matplotlib?
on like public. Don't DM us. Like it would help you if anybody else could solve it out.
Yes.
Okay, we'll wait for 5-10 minutes more. If you have any doubt, like any doubt in general, you can also ask. We do share the collab notebook before the session. Be active on Slack, I would say. Like we share stuff on Slack in the Y20 channel. And by the way, those who are having issues, you can like ping us later for like installation of Git Bash or WSL. Yes, you can use like it works with Linux command only, like lscd and stuff. I should stop screen sharing.
Okay, so जो people who are here, कुछ पूछना है क्या? Aditya, I think you can stop recording now.